Welcome back on Dynamo. Today I want to propose you the unboxing and review about the new White Dwarf, that is the White Dwarf of November 2018, released by the Games Workshop. What we can see in the cover, it's the main theme that is inside this White Dwarf, and it's the orcs, so the WHAAAGH. So now we can start to see all the contents that are inside here. So we move and we can start to see. We can find the theme of the White Dwarf, and the main theme that it's inside the White Dwarf, that it's this case, the speed cards of the orcs, but anyway the orcs themselves. Then we can flip, we can see the contents inside this White Dwarf that are quite a lot and quite green. And we can see the part about the referring of what there is inside this White Dwarf. So we can see different things. For example, there is the part about the bad moons, that is part of the orcs. So we can flip, we can see the essentials about these orcs, and it's the codex, the different releases, and even the shiny elements if you want to improve your army with the field about orcs. We can find the new game that is released by the Games Workshop about orcs, and it's about the vehicles. So there are a lot of different new vehicles with a game specific to play them, but you can play them anyway with the codex of the orcs, so you don't have to have problems about such things. Then we can flip, we can find more about the different vehicles that we can find. So there are a lot of different things. We can see a lot of different, and they are quite amazing ones. They are not so particular. I think that it's quite simple to realize them, because are a sort of a post-apocalyptic one, so a sort of Mad Max if you want as inspiration. But anyway, it's really quite good. And there are a lot of options, as you can see, that you can build. So if you're interested in them, I suggest you to buy, because they are quite amazing ones. Once these type of vehicles were realized with the usage of Mini 4WD models. Now you have the models themselves if you want, otherwise you can combine them, and they are quite amazing ones. Then we can see about new releasing for the kill team with the commanders. So there are new options if you want, and you can see there are different releasing. Here we have some example of different bands that you can have with the commander usages. Then we can see this, that is the releasing of models that has been released yet in Japan, because has been yet released such models, now are going to be released also in the rest of the world. These type of miniatures are bigger than the normal Space Marine. To have a comparison, you have to understand that these miniatures are about the size as height of a primary Space Marine. So it's quite different, but they are quite amazing as models, so they are quite nice. Then we can flip, we can find new supplies for your modeling. For example, we have this one that it's not so bad, but sincerely I can't understand if it's good to say you it's good or not, because I haven't seen it yet, and I have similar things and cheaper ones, so I can't understand if it's good or not to suggest you. Anyway, they are, for what it seems, quite good. This one, for example, it's not so bad, because it lets you have a better grip for big basis models. But anyway, it's up to you decide if it's good or not. The water pot, I have different feelings about, because they can be quite useful for certain things or quite useless. It depends on how you paint, and if you want to find other things that can have the same role, or you create them by yourselves. So you have to decide which one you prefer. Then we can flip, we can find new models from the Forge world, and it's a new model related to the Necrons. So it's quite amazing one, it's really wonderful to see. I don't think that I'll never buy it, but anyway, it's really amazing one, and it can be quite useful to have your own modifications or personalization to realize such model if you want. Then we can flip and we can find the necessity games. And one that I really like is this one, because it's about Dreadfleet. I mean that it's about the Vampire Coast, and this is a mod that it will be amazing to realize, or by Games Workshop if it wants, a sort of Titan of the Undeath, but you can realize it also by yourself, because if you analyze such a thing, you can find that, for example, this one is perfect suited, for example, for the shipwrecks. So it can be really quite interesting to personalize and realize your own ones if you are such crazy to do such a thing. So it's quite interesting one. Then we can flip and we can find news about the Realm Wars for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Again about games, for games, about computer. So if you are interested, you can read these to understand it better. And then we have news from the Black Library. What I want to remember you is that here it's not complete, and I think that the next month there will be in the White Dwarf quite more interesting things about the Black Library, because there will be the release in the January and the next month, also about other interesting booklets and so on. For example, there will be the release in January, February, the release of a sort of collectors of the Blood Angels. For example, I had bought some time ago the Black Angels second omnibus. Now there will be the release of the Chronicles of the first omnibus and the second omnibus together. So it can be really quite interesting, because the first omnibus it's quite difficult to find. So to have them combined, it's quite interesting one. Moreover, there will be the release, I anticipate you, also about other interesting things, and something that it's about vampires, Genevieve, for example. So there are a lot of things that will be going to be released in the next month. So now we have these ones that can be quite interesting. Then we'll have something even better, I think. So try to keep safe your money, because in the next month there will be quite an amazing things to see, even only by the Black Library. Then we can see the mailing list about the readers with the White Dwarf. That can be always interesting anyway. Then we can flip and we can find the temporary distort. This is a sort of release about Apocalypse and the main vehicles that has been released. For example, this one, if you want, in the future I can bring you something like it, because if you want to see, you can find here. I have, it's the same, because it's the first plastic brain blade released by the Games Workshop. I know that it's not finished, but I'm doing it from quite a lot of time, and I use it preventively as a sort of shiny elements, because I want to modify it in Fairblade, and I have a lot of projects that are continuously going out, so I had to postpone it continuously, but it's quite an amazing model. I really like it, even if I don't play Imperial Guard, but I want to convert it, I remember you, in a Fairblade, so it can be really quite interesting. Then we can flip and we can find about how to get started using Necromunda. And here we have some spot with what has been released about the kill team. So we have a lot of different things that you can choose. Then we can see the saga about the Slayer, with the new books that will be released about the Slayer, so Gotrek and Felix, because there will be the release of another chronicle in quite a soon future about it. And anyway, there are a lot of things, so it's quite interesting. In this case, has been released the audiobook about the Realm Slayers for the Gotrek, so it's about it, but take note about the Black Library, because soon you see quite interesting things about such type of argument. Then we can flip and we can find the part about the orcs. So it's the part about the background, the developing of the orcs themselves. You can see the different vehicles that are about the orcs. So there are a lot of information about the meaning behind these vehicles, and you can admire them till you don't buy them. So it can be really quite interesting ones. Then we can see the battle report that we have, and it's related about the new game that has been released by the Games Workshop for the orcs. So you can read it and understand if the game itself can be interesting for you or not. So it can be really quite interesting. Then we can find the part about the Golden Demon. And here we have, for example, the diorama. And I want to remember you that you can find quite a lot of interesting things about such dioramas and realization. For example, this model is realized using this model that you can see here, that it's from a normal necromancer. But you can also use such a thing using, for example, the necromancer that you can find in the Coven Throne for the part of the Mortis Engine. Coven Throne that I realized quite soon a video about the monetization about it. And in the details that you can find here, these models that you can find here, about the skeletons are the sepulchral guard that are included inside here. So it can be really quite interesting to analyze such models and understand how they have been realized. Then we can flip, we can find other things. It's quite interesting to see such dioramas because they are quite amazing ones. You see, you don't have to pay something really particular on. Even simple bases with some little modification can have quite a lot of impact on the view that you can have. So quite interesting one. Then we have other information about the Black Library. What I want to make you see is this, that it's a sort of journal nugget. So there are some quite interesting things about this one, but I think that the next month it will be talked about quite a lot about such a thing. Anyway, it's quite interesting. Take note about this thing. Then we can flip and we can see the novel about the Black Library that has been released and you can buy. Sincerely, some are interesting, something are not in my opinion, but they are a good collector. A bit expensive, sincerely, but anyway a good collector. Here we have the special edition about the new Demon Slayer book with the audio novel and the book itself. Then we can flip and we can find the battle report inside here that it's related to the new orcs against the Taus. So we can have a lot of interesting parts about reading such battle report to understand how they are played. Again, the PowerPoint, I don't want anymore to complain about them, but anyway, okay, take note about the usage of such thing. Remember that using the points and the power levels are quite different as different efforts that you can find, so take note of such difference. Then we can find what are the things that you can find about the orcs, so the different units that you can buy for usage in this book. Anyway, it's quite interesting. And if we have talked about the orcs for the 40k, now we have to talk a bit about the orcs for the Age of Sigmar one. I want to anticipate you that soon, probably in January, I don't think that it will be released in December, there will be the release about a battleton that it will be about the Moonclans, or anyway about the goblins, so for the destruction about the greenskins. So take note about such a thing. Anyway, there are quite a lot of information about the different parts that compose the destruction's armies, so we can have a lot of information about them. Then we can see a Hall of Fames about the different hats that we can have in the different models. Then we can flip and we can find a gaming part about the Middle Earth, because there has to be some spaces to talk about such game. And we can see different talking about. And then we can find about the collecting and in particular the demonic army about Nargol that you can find about a player, with the different also mechanic elements related to such army. So it's quite interesting one. Different modification, painting and so on. So it can be really quite interesting. Such thing can be also applied, for example, to the Skaven. So different things can be really quite personalized, and we can see a way to collect them. And then we have something that it's always amazing, that it's the branchizzo. So now we can see quite amazing part with a sort of Daedalus, sort of diorama, and it's wonderful. Simply, you can see that even the internal parts have been modified, painted in different ways. I really like how Blanche realized such type of things. Really amazing one. Even only to see such models, such personalizations and so on, I suggest you to buy such White Dwarf, because it's amazing one. To have inspiration, it's always amazing, simply. Then we can find something about the battleground, so a sort of personalization on how you can realize your own army and the different parts. So you can see a lot of different things about. And here about the modeling and painting. So we can find how to paint the orcs with different tones. We can find, for example, how to paint the yellow, that it's not so easy usually to paint. How to realize some effects and so on. About the suggestion how to realize the different steps to realize the different type of bikes for the different clans. So it can be really quite interesting. And here we can find something that I find always amazing, that it's how to realize your own orcs vehicles, because orcs are simply the best to complete crazy personalize your army, apart from death, okay? But anyway, orcs can be really quite amazing, because they can take everything from everything and mess them apart, putting something that can be still be used. So you can see a lot of different concepts that you can find that can be really quite amazing ones. Then we can have a spot about the Warhammer world. One day I go there, one future day. And now we can see the part about the readers models. As usual, I suggest you to always take note about such models, because they can have a lot of interesting things. Can be the different color schemes, can be simply some little details that can be modified, and so on. I think that, for example, this type of conversion of the content or dreadnought, so I think there are a lot of things. Also this one, for example, has been a little modified, or such bases for having a sort of three-dimensional ways to have a base that is characteristic. So there are a lot of interesting things to take note about. And you can have, for example, also other modification. For example, this one that has been a bit modified and can be really quite interesting to have a different pose for a model. And here we have instead where to find the different model, the different rules, the different updates for the different games released by the Games Workshop. So now here you can find the different points to go to see about. Then we have the part about the In the Bunker White Dwarf. So a lot of different suggestions of what it will be released in the next month. So it can be really quite interesting. And then we have the part about the guides of what you can suggest to buy for you for Christmas. Remember that we are going to have Christmas quite soon. So being November, they have to do such a thing. So they release new products and suggest you that you can have them yet, so that you can have prepare yourself to buy them. So they can be really quite interesting one anyway. Obviously they suggest you different things, so a lot of this White Dwarf, it's an immense spot, usually it's so, but here you can find it quite amusing, because there are a lot of boxes that can be done or suggested about. So quite interesting anyway, because you have a panorama of what you can have about. You can see there are a lot of things in the different ways. And then, this is amazing. And then we have the end, that as I said, we started with the orcs and we finish with the orcs, because it's the main theme inside such White Dwarf. What I think about this White Dwarf, I think that it's amazing. It's really good. If you are interested in orcs, I think that it's a sort of must, because there are a lot of information about, there are a lot of things that you can be interested in. So I suggest you anyway to buy if you are interested in orcs. For the other ones, I think that anyway it's interesting because there are a lot of information about. Maybe it's not so essential. Sincerely, I like what it's inside, so I think that it's worth. Even if I think that the next month one it will be even better. But anyway, I think that it's good to read or at least to have in your collection. But anyway, it's not so essential as other ones. So, from Dynamod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.